Okay, good Erev Shabbos. We're in a sugya of how they scared the Eidim by Dinei Nefashais, how they scared the Eidim by Dinei Nefashais, and they would tell them the cheshivas of a human being, and to realize that if you kill one person, you're killing the whole world, them, and it would come from them. And we went ahead and we saw, we went ahead and the coffee's waiting. We went ahead and we saw that Cain killed Hevel, and as a result, the psukim that accompanied that, the meyachicha, crying of the blood's crying from the ground, and these sugis were said by Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Rabbi Chia. So we're up to Lamed Zayin Amid Beis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines up, right? From Rabbi Yehuda Brei Rabbi Chia, Golus mechaperes avain, mechza, meikara. In other words, it takes care of half the problem. Ksiv, it says by Kayin, vayisi nov and nod, you'll be a wanderer and a vaga. Both lashons are wandering in Golus. It'll be slave ksiv by yeshe beretz noid. So it's mashma that no, he wasn't no, but it was noid. I saw a shot that no means lashon trembling. So noid means lashon Golus, no means trembling. So that was part of his kapara. The Ramban says he was punished as a shogeg, even though he was a murderer, since he had no one to go ahead and learn from. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu had Rachmanis on Kayin, and he punished him as a shogeg, and therefore he was given gullus. That's the midah keneged midah in Novena Tiyeh Ba'aretz, that he was punished as a shogeg. Because a person, he couldn't stay in one spot, so he was perennially in gullus. However, you see it doesn't say no, because why? Because the trembling stopped, so half of his kapara was accomplished with gullus. Amr of Yehuda, gullus mechaperish shleish devarim. Gullus is mechaper 3 things, shenemar. It says, Hayoshe bi'ir azois, yamus, becherev, 1, berov, 2, uvedever, 3 things. Right? By accepting 3 things. Vayoitza v'nefel ala kazdim, and the Yirmiyah gives if you go ahead and give yourself over to kazdim, in other words, you're going to go into gullus, you give yourself over, hatsorim aleichem, that are tsorim on you, yichya, you'll live, v'hoisaloi, l'nefesh, l'shalol. L'nafshe shalol, you'll be what? Your nefesh will be a prize. So in other words, as a result, you're going to go ahead and as a result, you're going to go ahead and live. So therefore, you see that Gullus would have gone ahead and been mechaper for those 3 things. Gullus would have been mechaper for those 3 things, for Rov, Dever, and Cherev and sword. Rabbi Yochanan, Gullus mechaperes ala kol. Gullus is not a mechaper half. Mechaper on everything. Shenemar, Kisru es ish hazeh ariri. Okay, well, I have to get the psukim over here. This is the hardest part, is touching the psukim. So, Kayamar Hashem Kisru es ish hazeh ariri. So, right about Yechonya, who will be ariri, that means without children. Gever lo yitzlach b'yomav. A person who won't have atzlacha in his days. Ki lo yitzlach mizaroi ish yoshev al kisei, right? David Moshel ol Behuda. He won't have atzlacha. He won't be zeicha to have a child to sit on the throne. So here's Yechonya, is the descendant of David, and he's punished, and he's told that he won't have children. And then it says, Basad the Gala, after Yechonya went into Galus. Yechonya went into Galus 11 years before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, right? We're going to see that in a second. And it says, after he went into Galus, it says, Ubnei Yechonya, who the sons of Chanya, Aser, Shaltiel. So you see, and the pasuk continues. Let me forget the blue one. Yeah, thanks. So the pasuk is describing in Divrei Yomim the descendants of Yechanya. Now Yechanya should not have any descendants. You just told me that he's not going to have any descendants. So what's going on over here? The pasuk says, "Ubenei Yechanya is Asir Shaltiel Benoi," and then the next pasuk says, 2 pasukim later, "Ubenei Pedoya Zerubbabel Shemi Uben Zerubbabel is Meshulam." Okay, so you see that he has descendants. Now, why did he have descendants? Because he went into Gullus. since he went into Galus, it was mechaper for his Averis, and Mamela he was like to have children. Now the Gemara is digressing. You had, so what was the name of his children? Asa, Shaltiel. So the Gemara now is coming to go ahead and explain those names. Asir, why was he called Asir? Shebartoi imoy bebeisei surim. He was called Asir because his mother conceived in prison. Shaltiel, sheshaslu kel, shleikederech hanit shalom. Because Baruch Hu put this child in the mother's stomach, not the normal way, as it says now. Gemiri, we have a Messiah, she'ena ishim esaberes mu'umid. If a woman has tashmish while standing, she cannot have children, right? Vehinis abra mu'umid. Shaltiel's mother was Yechonya's wife. Yechonya was in prison. Rashi brings Labrius. Rashi brings that you have tissues there. Rashi brings, fellas, that he was in a very, very narrow quarters, so it was not possible for them to lie down kederach tashmish. So they had tashmish standing up, and as a result, he was brought shasu kel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed in an abnormal way, and that's where he got his name from. Davar acher, another reason for his name, Shaltiel shenishal al alasai kel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he went ahead and he wanted to be made for his nether, guys. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kaviyach wanted to be shol his nether. Why? He made a nether that Yechonya is not going to have any children, right? And now he decided to go back on it. So Lashon Kel is Shol Kel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was what? He was freeing himself off from what? From his nether that he had made. But Zerubbabel, Shenizra B'Bavel, the name of the next pasuk we saw, Zerubbabel, Shenizra B'Bavel, Zerah B'Bavel, he was planted in Bavel. In his mother's womb, he was planted in Bavel. Yechonya was what? In Bavel, he was in Galus, and this is where what? He impregnated his wife. Umash Shemai, what was the name of this child Zerubbabel? His real name was Nechemya ben Chachaliah. The great Nechemya, the Navi Nechemya, that's who he was. So Yechonya was always to go ahead. That was his name. Shmoi was his name. Okay. Now we were saying things over the name of Chia, the son of Chizkiah, right? So now we say Chizkiah, Yehuda and Chizkiah were brothers. So Yehuda and Chizkiah b'nei Rav Chia, they were twins. Aviyasmi b'sudasa kamei Rabbi. They were sitting before Rabbi. Lehavi ka'amri lamidi. They weren't saying anything. They were sitting in front of Rabbi, and then they weren't saying anything. So Amr lahu, Akbru chamra adardaki. Rabbi said, listen, I want to get these guys to talk a little bit. So guess what? Give them a shtickle to drinking. Right? Give them something to drink. Ki heichi delimru milsa, in order they should say something. Kivin div sume, since they indulged a little bit and got a little bit imbibed, a little bit. Paskul v'amru, ein ben David ba, at she'ikalu shnei bati avos. Ben David, Mashiach's not going to come, at she'ikalu until it's finished shnei bati avos, mi Yisrael. The Eluhain, who are the Shtei Bratei Avos, Reish Goyla Sheba Bavel, that's the descendants of the Nasi and Bavel, the Nasi Sheba Eretz Yisrael. So these are the direct descendants of David, the Reish Galusa in Bavel, which we're familiar with, and the Nasi in Eretz Yisrael. Shneimar, V'hoya L'migdash, right, the Pasuk says, V'hoya L'migdash, U'le'even Negev, U'le'tzur Michshol, L'shnei Bratei Yisrael. And Mashiach will be, he'll be a sanctuary for Klal Yisrael, and it'll be a Michshel stone for the two houses of Yisrael. What are the two houses? Those the Nasi in Bavel, the Reish Galusa in Bavel, and the Nasi in Eretz Yisrael. So who's hearing this? Rabbi's the direct Nasi, is the Nasi. So Amar Lehem, Rabbi said to Chizkiah and Yehuda, Bonai koitzim atem atilim li be'enai. Bonai, my sons, you're going ahead, you're sticking thorns in my eyes. What are you doing? So Reb Chia, who was their father, said to Rebbe, Al Necha, don't be upset. Yayin nitain b'shivim oisiyos. Yayin is nutrikin, is the gematria guys of 70. Yud is 20. Vav is 50. Nun is 50. It's a total of 70. V'soid nitain b'shivim oisiyos. And soid, samech is 60. Vav is 6. Dalet is 4. Is 70. Nichnas yayin, yatz is soid. Once Yain gets in, the side comes out. They're just telling you what you gave them the wine, and they're just telling you what. Okay, so I have written over here, Soid Hashem l'Reyav, Yesharim, that's Yesharim Saidai, and Nevi'im, the Gra says, Ki im Giloi Saidai of the Nevi'im. So it seems that Soid finds itself Yirim, I haven't written, I don't know, Yirim, Yisharim, and Neviim. Those who fear Hashem, Sod Hashem L'Reyav, those who fear Him, Yisharim, those who Ves Yisharim Soidoi, and Neviim, Kies Hashem Gila Soidoi. So in other words, we touch up that Nichtas Yayin Yaitz Soid, that the guy tells you really what's on his mind. But this is more than that. This is Soid, we're speaking about not just stam unfiltered. Soid means, the Hashem's secrets, the things that are prophetic, are prophetic. So it has to be, a person has to be Soid Hashem L'Reyav, those who fear Him. Yisharim is Yisharim Soid, has to be people who are Yasha. Neviim Gila Soid L'Avdan. In other words, the Soid over here we're speaking about is not a person saying things that are embarrassing. A person saying things that are you say this in the Nevuah, but it has to be people that who are royal lakach. So these people were. Amrav Chisda Mar Okva Vimila Amrav Chisda Dorish Mori Bar Mar Maidich Siv Vayishkar Hashem Ala Ra'a Vayivyeh Allah Ki Tzadik Hashem Elokeinu. Kadosh Baruch Hu brought quickly the Ra, and he brought it on Ki Tzadik Hashem. In other words, by Hashem going ahead, Mishum the Tzadik Hashem, because Hashem is a Tzadik. V'yishkar Hashem ala Ra v'yavieha. What does this mean? He brought the Ra onto us quickly. As a result of going ahead and bringing Ra onto us quickly, it shows the tzidkus of Hashem. So that's what they are. So Mari Bar Mar said, yeah, it's true. Tzedakah Oisa Kadosh Baruch Hu im Yisrael shehigdim galus tzidkiyahu, right? V'oid galus yichanya kayemes. So what happened? Yechanya went into Galus 11 years before. Like we say that Mordechai had been in the right in Yechanya, right? So then Tzidkiyahu 11 years later he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. All the people then went to Bavel. Who did he take to Bavel? As we're going to see in a second, he took the greatest people in Klal Yisrael. Had he not gone ahead and put Yechanya into Galus initially, then there would have been no one there in Bavel to go ahead and educate the masses. But as a result of them going to Bavel earlier, that they set up a system where the Torah would be learned by everyone coming there. So this was Hashem's tzidkis by bringing on what? The Galus of Yechanya before the Galus of Tzidkiyahu, the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. So that's what Hashem accomplished. That's the example of, okay, the Chsiv, the Galus Yechanya, it says by what? By the Galus of Yechanya, HaChorish, the Hamaskef Elef. It says the Chorish, literally the Chorish is a I think like a carpenter, a craftsman. But Hamaskef is the person who watches the gates. So this is alluded to, a Chorish, Hamaskef Elef. It alludes to Chorish, is Kimin Shepoischin Hakol, Dasan Kecharashim. Once these people opened their mouths, everyone became like Charashim, lesson of deaf, silent. Why? Because of their tremendous scholarship. Masker, Kimin Shesoigrim B'Halacha. Once they passed in the Halacha, they closed it. Shuvain Poischin, there's nothing to talk about. So the bottom line is, the Chorish Masker is alluding to what? The great people that would take it with Yechanya into Galus. Notice, he didn't take anybody, Nebuchadnezzar, into Galus. He really took the cream of the crop of Bnei Yisrael. And the tzidkus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was they exactly were taken. Because as a result, later when we were all, again, Eretz Yisrael was desolate. We all went to Bavel. We had a whole system set up with these great people that Torah should be forgotten. But Kama Hayu, how many? Elef. So it wasn't for these Elef, Torah would have been forgotten. So that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu. An example of HaKadosh Baruch Hu bringing upon earlier, bringing the Golus of Yechanya before the actual Golus of Tzidkiyahu, of the Churban Bayis, an example of the Tzidkis of Hashem. Beautiful pshat. Ula Amar, Ula says something else. Okay, now it says, we read on Tisha B'Av, Ki soyded banim u'bnei badim, when you give birth to children u'bnei banim, v'noi shantem ba'aretz, and you'll grow old in the land, v'hish chatem v'asisem pesel tmuna. So the lashon of v'noi shantem is the key word over here, v'noi shantem. Now, it says Ula, he was magdim 2 years to v'noi shantem. Leishantem in Gematria, guys, is 852. If you do the math, we were in Eretz Yisrael we should have been in Eretz Yisrael 852 years from the time of leaving Mitzrayim. If you could, it's that's really 890. We take away the 40 years in the Midbar. So now, Hashem went ahead. If we been Shantem, if we would have made the 852, we would have been destroyed. What did Hashem do? He put us in the Gullus in 850. So by going ahead and being magdim 2 years, it saved us. So that's what Rashi says of it. There's a long Rashi over here, but basically what he's telling us is that we should have been 852 because Baruch Hu took us in earlier. The Mori Alma, when it says quick of a Kodesh Baruch Hu is Tamnei Meya v'Chamshin Tarti Havi. It's 852 years, right? It'll be destroyed Mehera, destroyed Vina Shantem is 852. So that's the cheshbon of doing it earlier. Again, in Hashem's way of doing things, sometimes we just view the negative. You have no idea exactly what he has in mind. Again, just in recent events, what worse could have been than October 7th, where you had people literally slaughtered and killed and terrible. But you look a year later, more than a year later, the actual result of it is that basically, Baruch Hashem, a lot of the enemy that's been, warming Klal Yisrael is weakened to a great extent. It's weakened to a great extent. And that was, again, they never would have gone ahead and attacked Hezbollah. Never. They had their doom. 206, they did not have Hatzlacha with Hezbollah. They were scared of it. But as a result of that and attacking Gaza, Hezbollah attacked them. As a result of attacking them, they went ahead and really basically almost destroyed Hezbollah, weakened them greatly. That they wanted to cease. They were begging for a ceasefire. They had to attack Iran after Iran went ahead and sent missiles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped every single missile from coming and destroying. The only one who got killed was an Arab, and they destroyed basically the whole system. Iran also was scared of Eretz Yisrael, but that's all as a result of HaKadosh Baruch Hu doing something that on the surface is awful, and it is awful. But there's always the hatav of Hashem. I think we always have to keep that in mind, that no matter what happens to us along the line, there's always something good. I had a grandmother who used to say over to me, "Mein Kind, from Yeda," she was from Poland, "From Yeda Ruth kommt gut. From Yeda Ra is Ra'a. From every bit kommt gut." She said it all the time, and Baruch Hashem is like to see it. The Fikach HaKadosh Baruch Hu said a man was created alone, and the Bryce is going to allow to pay man was created alone. Tan Rabbanon, Adam Yechili Nivra, Umfnei Ma. Why was he created alone? If he wasn't created alone, they would have said, well, each God, Kaviyachal, created his own. By creating one, you say there's one God who created one. Davar and Achar, another reason Adam was created alone. If they had tzaddikim, if they are Rishayim, because of the tzaddikim and because of the Rishayim. Shlohoya tzaddikim oimrim anah b'nei tzaddik. I'm a miyuchis, I come from a tzaddik. But Rishayim amru anu b'nei Russia, and I have no choice. What can I do? I come the son of a Russia. By coming all from the same people, that instills in us the bechira that you have a choice to do what? But either way. Davar acher b'nei hamishpachos. The reason why is because mishpachos shalayu mishpachos miskaris zubazu. They shouldn't have fighting with each other, saying my grandfather was greater than your grandfather. Uma achshav shenivra yachim mitzkaris. Now, even as a result of being created alone, we see people fighting. Nivru shnayim malachas kam. We can imagine if Adam was created as two. Why the Habala would have created? Davar acher b'fnei hagazlanim u'fnei hachamsanim. So what does Rashi say? Mifnei hagazlanim hachamsanim sheyamru karkazeh lebnei avinu lebnei avinu harishain haisav lebnei avichem. In other words, they'd be fighting all over the land. It was the land belongs to me. The land belongs to me. In fact, fellas, there was a riv. It says that by Hevel, Cain veHevel, Hevel was a royal sign, Cain was an Ovid Adama, and it says there was a river fight between them. What was the fight, says the Medrash? Cain claimed that all the land belonged to him, since he was what? Since he was Ovid Adama, and therefore get off my land. So you see, even with creating of one, it caused what? a fight over real estate. Alachas kama v'kama, if Adam was not created as one, it would have caused what? A fight over real estate. Okay. So ma achshav shenivra yechidim goyzlim v'chaimsin. Man is created as one, and still we have problems with gezela and chamas. The nivru shnayim alachas kama v'kama. Certainly, if he would have been created what? Okay. So he said the Mishnah said ulahagid gulasai. He was created one to show the greatness of what one person is. Tan Rabbanan lahagid gulasai shamelach malchi amlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Right. When Hashem created me alone, it's to show the greatness of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Sha'adam tayveya kama matbayis b'chaysim echad. He said a person, he can mint many coins, but from one mold, they all v'kulan daim l'zel they all look the same. Hakadosh Baruch Hu tayveya koladim b'chaysim shaladim rishayin ve'nechem mehem daim l'chadeirei. No one looks the same, even though we all came from the same source. The DNA is all the same. The chromosomes are all the same, yet we look different. Shenemar this hapich kechaymer chaysam v'syatsu k'moy lavosh. He changes over. Chayma is like a mold, and what? He takes the clay and they yisyatsu k'moy lavosh. They'll stand up as if they're wearing. The use of chaysem, that men were created with a chaysem, with a mold. That's the stress that was minted. You created with a mold. People don't look alike. If you all looked alike, you'd say, that's my house, that's my wife. And no one knew the difference. Okay. By going ahead and changing the faces of people, right, then the ways of the Rishoyim are broken. Tanya, 3 ways a person is different from his friend. Bekoil, the way he speaks. B'mare is the tone of his voice. B'mare, the way he looks. U'b'das, and the way he thinks. Bekoil u'mare mishamerva. Okay, during the day, a person can see what his wife looks like. She can look at him and see what he looks like. At night, where they can't see each other, they say, how is a man mutta b'ishta b'layla? Right? How is a summa mutta ishta? Because he recognizes the voice. So through a person's voice, that's why you're able to go ahead and the Medrash says that by Yaakov Avinu, that good she had the simonim, but they sounded differently. So it says that Dina, Rachel was in the room at the B'shas Maisa, and she spoke to Yaakov, and Yaakov thought it was Rachel. Mamish because of the coil. Ubedas, they are gazlan and mechasson. Rashi says that you have to have different das because you have the same das. They know where you hide your stuff. They know where you hide your treasures. Tan Rabbanan, Adam nivra be'erev Shabbos. Again, these are very, very famous Gemaras. Tan Rabbanan. Adam nivra be'erev Shabbos. Adam was created erev Shabbos. Umfnei ma. What's the reason? They shouldn't say Shutafayula Kodesh Baruch Hu b'Maisa Bereshis. He was created on erev Shabbos, the 6th day. He was created on day number 1. The Minim would say Hashem needed help in creating the world. So by creating him on day 6, after the whole world was created, they wouldn't be able to say this. Davar acher, Shem Tezuach Daitei Love, if a person gets so haughty, he thinks so much of himself, they say to him, Yitosh Kadamcha b'Maisa Bereshis. Yitosh, a mosquito, a gnat, they came before you in Maisa Bereshis. So don't hold yourself so high. Kidei she'yikonis davar acher. Kidei she'yikonis lemitzvah miyad. You go miyad. He was created day 6. So you have Shabbos right away. He was created day 6. He went into Shabbos. Davar acher. Kidei she'yikonis l'suda miyad. Okay, now that the world was finished, they're going to have a suda. So he went into suda right away. Mashal melech basav adam. Shebona palterin v'shichlon v'hiskin sudasa. He goes out. He builds a palace. And he furnishes the palace, he decorates the palace, and everything's prepared. And what's missing is the Suda. So he makes a Suda on now Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world, so he's making a big Suda. And afterwards he brings in the Archim. In this case, after Hashem created the world, he brought in the Areach, he brought in Adam. Shenemar. Now we're bringing a bunch of things to go ahead and show that he was created on the 6th day. Shenemar. Chachmas bonsa beisa. Chachma builds a house. Chatzva amudah shiva, right? She's gone ahead and cut 7 pillars. Tavcha tivcha, the meat is geschachten, and mascha yena, the yain is mixed. Af Arvishulchana, she set a table. Sholchan Araseha Tikra, she sent forth the maids. Al Gabe Meroimus Kara on top of the heights of the city. Okay, that's the pasuk. Now we dash in the pasuk. Chachma is bansa beisa. When it says Chachma is bansa beisa, zumi dasa shel kadosh baruch hu. Right, Shebara es kol olam kula b'chachma. That he created the whole world b'chachma. Chatzva amudu sheva. Cut the seven pillars. Elu sheva yimei abreshis. These are the 7 days of creation. Now you'll say there was 6 days. Look at Taisus, guys. Chatzva amudu sheva. The b'shiva yamim nivra olam. It was created in 7 days. Shafa pishe b'sheshes yamim nivra olam. Even though physically it was created in 6 days, it was missing menucha at Sheba Shabbos until Shabbos came along. Ba menucha, ba Shabbos, ba menucha. V'ayinu d'chsiv, v'yichal elokim b'yom hashvi, and Hashem rested on the what? On the 7th day. So you guys, ba menucha pasha means that, wow, like we have Shabbos, that special feeling we have when Shabbos comes. There's a beautiful medrash brought down by the Orach Chaim HaKodesh on the pasuk of v'yichal elokim b'yom hashvi, that the world was trembling. The world was trembling. It was in a state of unrest. It wasn't finished yet, the world, until Shabbos came. Ba Shabbos, ba Menucha, came Shabbos, and what happened? It calmed down. Says the Orach Chaim that the world got its neshama. An esoteric idea that the world received its neshama on Shabbos. That the world wasn't complete till Shabbos came. Shabbos is the nefesh of the world. What do we say? Right? What's the lashon? So says the Orach Chaim, guys. V'shamu b'nei Yisrael Shabbos lasa Shabbos darsam b'slam b'nei b'nei kishesh yomim asa Hashem eshmayim esaretz. Listen to this, fellas. U'b'yom hashvi shavas vayi nafash. What is shavas vayi nafash? Came along Shabbos vayi nafash, and therefore the world got its what? Nefesh. Came along Shabbos and the world got its nefesh. That's the reason Mila is on day 8. You want to make sure that a child had a Shabbos in his life, right? That's the reason you can't bring a korban until after 8 days. We want to make sure the korban, Shabbos goes ahead and finishes everything. So beautiful, that will explain that Shivas Yomim, right, that the world was created in 7 days, right? The physical world was in 6, but the whole world and just the Menucha Shabbos, but Shabbos gave the world its nefesh. It go ahead and finalized. The world stopped trembling when Shabbos came. A beautiful medrash brought down by Empshat Vayinafash by the Orach Chaim HaKodesh. Okay, Elisha Rebreishis. Tavcha, the pasuk continues. Tavcha tivcha mascha yena arf orcha shulchana. Again, everything's prepared. Elu yamim unaharis v'chol tzarchei olam. This refers to all the needs of the world, the rivers, the waters, all that you need. This is the banquet of Hashem. Sholchun araseh tikra. Who did he send out? Said Adam Chava. It refers to Adam Chava. The pasuk continues al gape meroime karis, on top of the heights of the city. Rabba bar Chana Rami, he says it's a stira. Ksiv al gape, on the heights. Ksiv al kisei, and it says on the seat low. Betchil al gape, before the chait they were on the heights. L'b'soif, after the chait al kisei they came down. Pasuk says ma pesi yasur heina chaser leiv amuloi. Whoever is bad is a pesi, is a fool. Go ahead and let him turn away. And someone who doesn't understand, she told him, Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, mi pisoi lezeh, who was mafata, who persuaded Adam to eat from the Eitzadas, Isha Amrulay, was his Isha, right? Tichsiv, noyif Isha chasalev. Someone who is a noyif with a woman, right, lacks understanding. Tanya, Adam Arisha mikol oilam kuloi chutzpar afaroi. Adam Rishon, he was formed by all the dust of the world. This is a little in difference to Vayitza Adam Alpha Min Adama. Vayitza Shem Adam Alpha Min Ha'adama. Rashi brings the medrash that it was created from Makam HaMizbeach. We discussed that. And he said he was created from all the earth. Shnemar Golmi Ro'u Einecha. Golmi is a lashon of a form he made. Uksiv Ki Hashem Einav Mishaitas B'chalaretz. And Hashem looks all over the world. So he went ahead and looked all over the world and put the Goyim together. Amar Reb Oishya Mishmei Derav. Adam Arishan Amid Beis, Gufay mi Bavel. His Guf was from Bavel. Baroisha mi Eretz Yisrael, and his Rosh was from Eretz Yisrael. Ve'vorav mishar ratzos, and his limbs, they came from all other places. Agavoisav, the place you sit down on. Ravacha, that came from Akra da Agma, different places. The first, there's 12 hours through a day, and Shori Shoina Chutzpah for the first hour of Friday, Kodesh Baruch Hu brought all the shmutz together. Shnayim Nasu Goylam. In the second hour, he made him into a Goylam. Shlishis Nimtchu Evarav. The third hour, he formed his Evarim, his limbs. Revius Nizraka ben Neshama. And then in the fourth hour, he gave him his Neshama. Chamishis Amal Raglav. And the fifth hour, Adam stood up. Shishis Karash Shemais. On the sixth hour, he named all the animals. The Ramban says by naming the animals, he realized he didn't have a mate. Because by naming all the animals, he saw that they didn't match up. In addition, he said by naming the animals knew who their mate was. In other words, you would think a lion knows what a lion is, that they go together. This Rambam says no. By Adam calling them the names of the animals, that's how they knew how to go together. That's why it drives me crazy when you speak about cavemen. Adam Rishon was such a chacham, the Maisel Elikim. He understood such deep thoughts. He was able to name the animals. He gave them the names. And as a result of the names he gave them, that's what they called. So when you think about cavemen, go like walking around. Adam Rishon, the first person, he spoke Lashon Kodesh beautifully and understood the side of the name by giving the animals their names. That's what they called, and as a result, they were, says the Ramban, they were matched with each other. So Shvi in the Shvius in the seventh hour, in this Davig Lechava, he got Chava. Shminis Olo Lamita Shnayim, V'Yardu Arba. They went up to the bed as what? As two, and they came down as four. They had two children. So Rashi, Taisus brings two children. You know who the two children were? If you look at Taisus, the Taisus over here, the Yardu Arba, Adam v'Chava, Kayin v'Tiyumsai. Now you would think it's Kayin v'Hevel. It says Kayin and his twin, that he had a twin girl. Aval Hevel loy noiled ba'isei pam. K'dechsiv v'reishis ba'Taisus l'oledes, she continued to give birth. Ushnei Tiyumis noldu imait. Kayin was a twin, and Hevel was a triplet. Now, there's a big problem with this guy. It's a big problem. There's a Tosfos Gemara in Eruvin Yud Ches. It said Adam was perished after the Chet. Adam separated from Chava for 130 years. After 130 years, he had a child, and it says Shes. So obviously, Hevel was killed way before. So, but you tell me that he went up in the bed and he only had Kayin and his twin. So when was Hevel born? Kayin and his twin. They do the Chet, right? Hevel's out of the picture. 130 years later, he comes together. He has Shes. This is one of the problems. It's a problem. I think the Marsha in Masechta Erev and Yud Ches. That's a good makar. I think I have written down over here Marsha in Yud Ches. But it's a you have to figure that out exactly the chronological order of exactly when Hevel was born. Asiris in the Tishis Nitzavish Loyachim Mina Elon, in the 9th hour, they were commanded not to eat from the Eitzadas. Asiris Sarach, the 10th hour, it didn't take long. The snake got him right away, and they did the Chet. Achas Esri Nidoin, they were judged in the 11th hour. Shtei Mesri Nishra Valach. During the 12th hour, he was sent down to Gan Eden. I think he was able to stay in Gan Eden for Shabbos. Some in the back of my mind. Shnemar Adam Bikar Bal Yolin. Adam doesn't Bikar. Adam in his Yakar, in his state of Yakar, his state of Kovid. Bal Yolam will not stay because he was thrown out of Gan Eden. Amar Rami Bar Chama, Ein Chayra Sheletis Ba'Adam. A Chayra cannot be shown on a person, Elam Kein Nidmala Kebehema, unless he thinks it's a behema. Shnemar Nimshul Kabehemas Nidmu, that people are ruled when they appear like animals. So there's a Paris Chaim, fellas. He says, why is it that Adam rules over the animal? It's because Nasa bit Salmeinu. We have a tselem of Hashem. If a person has a tselem of Hashem, the animals are scared of that tselem. They can only kill a person when they think the person's an animal. So when the person uses that slem, he loses it, that's when he's an animal. It says over here, behind the Kamar Hacha, Ein Chayra Sheletes Ba'Adam, Elam Kein Nidmaloi Kebehema. Only if he thinks he's a behema. Shekol mi she'ena oiser b'tzayna shel makayim. Anyone who doesn't do the will of Hashem, hatzlem hahu, the slem of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, nistalek mimenu. It leaves him. Ve'ein loy demus adam, and he doesn't look like an adam. Ela demus behema. He looks like an animal. And therefore the chaya can be shoyled over him. In fact, there's a Rabbi Deutsch from the Living Museum in Borough Park who's very much into this, and he went to zoos. He went to zoos. He supposed, I mean, there's supposed to be tapes of this. I didn't get the tape where he signed off and he went in the cage with wild animals and they didn't touch him. And they didn't touch him. I got to see this, but you hear this? Because why? I think he asked Rabbi Belsky even if he could do it. I have to check this out. But again, an animal can only eat an Adam if he thinks the Adam is an animal. So a person does the Ratzon HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's no way in the world an animal could attack him. There's no way an animal could possibly go ahead and attack him. There's a Maisa with my Rebbe. There's a Maisa with my Rebbe. Now, it's not exactly for this, but it's... The Maisa of my Rebbe was the Gestapo got him. They rounded up in Vilna. They rounded up all the Dayanim. They knew who exactly they were. They rounded them up, and they brought them to, I don't know exactly where, some headquarters, and they were beating. That I told you about. They killed the Marcheshes at that time, and my Rebbe was beaten, and he was knocked out unconscious. He got up in a pool of blood, and he looked, and there was one person guarding him. And he said, "I'm not staying here." He got up and he stared at the person, at the guard, and the guard didn't move. He went out and he hid in the grass outside. And they came looking for him. They sent dogs. A dog found him, looked at him, and just walked away. So did Tzelem Elikim. So did Tzelem Elikim. Ma'aser Shahid. Ma'aser Shahid. Anyway. Shah, Besuf, Armi, Simon. Right. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Rav. B'shah shebikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu librois es Adam, when he wanted to create Adam, Bora kat achas shel malchei Hasharis. He created a group of malchei Hasharis. Amar lehem, b'tzoinchem nasa Adam b'tzalmeinu. Should we create man in b'tzalmeinu, in our image? So Amar lefanav, Rebbeinu Shalom, ma ma'asav. What's he going to do? So Amar lehem, kach v'kach ma'asav. So Amar lefanav, Rebbeinu Shalom, ma enosh kisis kareno. Who is he? Why do you remember him? Uben adam kisis kvedeno, or a person that you should think about him. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not like this answer. Hashem put his pinky and destroyed them. The same thing happened with the second group. Katchlishas amar lefanav, Rebbeinu Shalom, Rishonim shamar lefanecha, maha ilu. But it happened. They were telling the truth. The whole world is yours. I say whatever you want to do. Look what happened. And Hashem had to destroy the world. Didn't they say the right thing in front of you? Until I'm old, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, until I'm old and seva, I'm going to espel. I'll go ahead, but I'll tolerate them. In other words, ein achinami. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, listen, I think about it, fellas. HaKadosh Baruch Hu creates the world, and they're doing. He creates the world, and in the 10th hour from creation of Adam is already sin. He gives him one command. An hour later, that command is gone. Would you press the Alt Control Delete button and start over again? You see that? Like, it's amazing. Hashem, of course, knows everything that's going to happen, and He knows what people are. With all those, He understands our fallacies and our flaws, and He wants us to overcome it. He wants us to rise above these things. And it repeats itself by the Dara Flaga, where Hashem destroys the world, but because it needed a reset. But He had people, He didn't do a total reset, new creation. He went ahead and he reset the time. He reset the time, but He didn't reset people. Kadosh Baruch Hu again knows and he has tremendous patience. Amrav Yehuda Marav. Right. Adam Rishon Misayfa Elam at Saifa Haya. Now the Yad Ramah says this is a Guzma, and obviously it is. But again, in the idea, Adam came from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Shenemar, L'minayom Shabar Lakim Adam Al Aretz, L'mitzei Hashemayim, Ba'kitzei Hashemayim. From one end of the world to the other. Kevin Shesarach, once he was did an Avera, Hiniach Kadosh Baruch Hu Yadu Alav Umata. Because Baruch Hu literally placed his hand upon him and made him smaller. Shenemar, Achav V'kedim Sartani, V'tashas Alai Kapecha. And he placed his palm upon me, making it smaller. So Amr Balaza, Adam Rishon in Haaretz V'Adar Rakia Haya. Adam Rishon was from the beginning of the to the top of the world. Shneim Al Minayim Shabar Lakim Adam Al Haaretz L'Miksei Hashemayim. Kimin Shesarach Hiniach Kadosh Baruch Hu Yadav V'Me'atoi Shneimar Ach V'Kedem Sartani Kosher Kra Adadi. The Chayv the Shver. One it says he's from Shemayim to the Haaretz. The other one says says from one end of the world to the other, meaning he's very tall and very wide. It means the same measurement. The midah from here to Shemayim is the same midah of the world. The bottom line is, the Riyad Ramah says, obviously this was what is a guzma. The way I learned Pshat was, Adam Rishon understood the whole universe. Min Aretz Ad Rakia, Mikotzav Ad Kotzav. Kodesh Baruch Hu gave Adam tremendous chachma. He's tremendous chachma. Again, with the stupidity with this caveman. He gave him tremendous chachma. He understood the universe. He understood from here to here. He understood everything in the world, and he was able to name the animals as a result with the Yisaidis. He was Adam was a Gavaldig. Guys, he was Maisa Yadav Shel Kodesh Baruch Hu. What do you think Hashem is going to create? A caveman? Someone who couldn't speak, someone who couldn't think, someone who sees fire and goes, huh, huh. Someone hits a woman over the head with a club and jumps into a cave. I mean, think about the stuff that we're inculcated or inundated. That's the word. Inundated from your youth, from Danny the dinosaur to the Flintstones, the stuff that you see. Crazy. And you take it, okay, it's a caveman. It drives me crazy. They weren't cavemen. It was not cavemen. There was Adam Rishon, who was like the greatest person in who's Hashem going to create? Think about it. Maisa Yadav Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu, guys. Hashem created this. Hashem is the father. The earth's the mother. Hashem is creating something fascinating. Hashem is creating something very fascinating. Okay. V'amar Rabbi Yehuda Marav, Adam Rishon beloshen Aram Yisiper. Adam Rishon spoke Aramaic. Shneimar, V'li ma yakru re'echa kel. It says, Ma yakru, how yakar, re'echa. Re'echa is not your friend over here. Re'echa means what? Your machshavos. It's a lashon what? Of Aramaic. So ma yakar, how precious re'echa kel are your thoughts, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'hainu domer reish lakish. Ma dechsiv zeh sefer told us Adam. Adam didn't have a book. Malamit she'e'eu HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu shot Adam dar v'dar shav. So every generation. That's how we knew about David, that David was going to die, and he gave him 70 years. Dar v'darshav. Dar v'chachamav. And came in Shegia the Darshal Rabbi Akiva. He came to the Dar of Rabbi Akiva. Samach b'Tayrasa v'Nisasa b'Misasa. Adam was very happy with Rabbi Akiva's Torah, and he was not happy with how Rabbi Akiva died. Adam, beli ma yakru yachakel. And Adam's answer was unbelievable, because he said that instead of asking Zu Torah Zu Schayra like the Malachim and Lamed Aleph, I think in Menachos asked, he said no. He said, how deep are your thoughts, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? V'amar Yehuda Marav, Adam Rishon min haya. Adam Rishon was a min. Shenemar, v'yikra Hashem Elokim el Adam, v'yam el Hayaka. He says to Adam, where are you? He says to Adam, where are you? And on not the libcha, I mean, which way are you going? So he knew where Adam was. Adam was hiding after he ate from the eights, and he said, Hayaka, where are you? And he said, on not the libcha. Rabbi Yitzchak Amar, Moishech barlasa Adam. Adam was literally pulling on his arla, right? Ksiv hacha v'hema ka'adam avru bris, and like Adam who was over on the bris. Ksiv hasam es brisi hefer. So brisi refers to what? The bris milah. Rav Nachman Amar, Rav Nachman says, kaifa bika aya. Adam was kaifa biki d'nai HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Chasu hacha avru bris, he said he was over in the bris. Ksiv hasam v'amru asher azu es bris Hashem elokechem. Now many years ago, guys, I'm going to pontificate a little bit. It says three things over here: that Adam was kaifa beika, Adam was a min, and Adam was Moshech bar lasai. So very, very cryptic. Many years ago, I would say 40, 45 years ago, I heard a shmuz from Shlomo Kalbach, the mashgiach he was mashgiach in Chaim Berlin. He was a Rebbe in Eastern Parkway. He was nifted just not too long ago, and he gave a shmuz. He was a Chaim Berliner. He gave a shmuz in a maral, and it made such a ratio upon me. when you do an Avera, there's something worse than the Avera. There is the distance that Avera creates between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I still remember the Rashiva using the word schism, the word a schism, that it creates a schism, a barrier, a separation between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How could I serve you, Hashem? I did an Avera. So once you do an Avera, if you don't deal with it, it just exponentially becomes, you get farther away from Hashem. And that's the worst thing. The farther you get away from Hashem. Adam Arishain, B'shas Dechet. You know what he was? He was Moishech Bar Lasai. He was telling other Hashem, I want what this Arla signifies. I want Olam Hazeh. I want Taiva. I want this world. I don't want this higher calling that you have for us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that you made me, that I should recognize you and live my life for your sake. I want Moshech Bar Lasai. I want to go ahead and the most physical needs and the physical desires I want. Says the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ayeka, where are you? Etmol l'daiti. Yesterday you were my das. V'achshav l'das hanachash. And now you're selling about the Nachash, the Baal Taiva, the Yetzer Hara, the one who desired Chava. This is yesterday before the Chet you were Lelaiti. The Achshel L'das HaNachash. You're Moshech Bar Lasai. If you don't go ahead and do tshuva, if you go ahead and substantiate your Chet and keep at it, how far then are you away from Minas? And once you get to Minas, how far are you away from what? From being kaifa be'ikah, denying Hashem completely. It's progressively. Each Amoira is saying a different shlav in the way of the Yetzer Hara. You do a chet. Once you do the chet, recognize you did a chet and deal with it. Do tshuva. Deal with it. Hashem, I don't care about the chet. I don't care about the einish Hashem. That we'll discuss later. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I want our relationship to be the same. I don't want this Aveira to cause a schism in our relationship where I go ahead and drift away from you and I'm no longer close to you. Ayeka, Freg the HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where are you? You're leaving me. You're Moshech Bar Lasai. Deal with the Chet. Don't drift away to become a min and Chash v'Shalom then be Kaifa be'ikah. Such a true statement. We know what. If you do an Avera, you feel dirty, if you do an Avera, if you know you did an Avera, it creates tremendous. And that's what said the Mashkiach, that's why by the Achet, why do we say Chatasi? I'm Chatasi, but where? Lefanecha. I'll deal with the Avera, I'll deal with the punishment, but Hashem, I still want to be Lefanecha. I still want to be in front of you. I don't want to be separate from you, B'nai Shalom. I want to be, the Chet is the Chet, I did it. I know I'm going to take a punishment. I'll accept the punishment, but worse than that is I'm farther away from you. I don't want that. I want to be Lefanecha, B'nai Shalom. I want to be near you, B'nai Shalom. That was the words of the Mashkiach so many years ago. It resonates with me all the time. And it never left me. I still, think about it, I'm not much, can't say I listen to too many shiurim and remember them, but this resonates because the truth of it is so powerful. So again, 3 levels. If you're Moshech Bar Lasai, if you rationalize your chet and you accept it, Ayeka, where are you? Where are you? You're not. Guess what? You're not that far away from Minos. And if once you get to Minos, accepting other gods, you're not so far away from Kaifa Be'ika, being Kaifa Akol and everything. As I state. Tan Hasa. Rebbe Eliezer Omer, Avi Shoked Lilmod Torah. You should be very shocked, very zealous to go ahead and learn Torah. V'dama shetasim apikairis. You should know what the answer on apikairis. On Rabbi Yochanan, Lo shonu apikairis oived kechavim. This is only to know to answer to an apikairis who's a guy. But apikairis Yisrael kolshkein the pocket fei. Yeah, you shouldn't deal with him because what? Unless you know what the answer, he'll affect you. Apikairis the guy is stam a fool. Apikairis of a Jew, right? He's much more dangerous. Mendelssohn did much more. Mendelssohn, his ideas of a scholar had a bigger impact upon than the church. Having a vikuach with the church was not as powerful, as dangerous as Mendelssohn was. Rabbi Yochanan, kol makom shepakru haminim, wherever the minim they go ahead and use the Torah to be mafker, to go ahead and say there's no God, Shuvasam b'tzidan, then the tshuva what is on its side. So we're going to give a bunch of examples of where the min might say something and the answer to the min. Nasa Adam b'tzalmenu, we will make Adam in Atzelam. So what's the we? Smashman is another God, right? But what's the answer? Vayivra Elokim es Adam b'tzalmo. Who created it? So Hashem says Nasa, that we will make man, lashon plural. But the creation, the actual creation was Vayivra Elokim, was Hashem alone. Hava nerda v'nivla sham svasam. By the Dor Haflaga, it says, let us go down and mix up their language. And so you let us, plural. What does it say? Vayered Hashem liras ha'seir v'samigdal. Hashem went down to see the city. Lashon Yachid. Kisham niglu elav elokim. When Yaakov built a mizbeach in Beis El, it says because there Hashem had appeared. Lashon niglu is lashon plural, right, to him. To the one who oin is a lashon of who answers lashon of singular, lashon of yachid. So again, every time we're right next to the lashon with the kaifer might go ahead and use as a means to deny there's only one God, right? You have the answer. Kimi gadol asher lo Elokim kroiv me'lov. Who is the nation that's so great? Elokim, right? Is kroivim? Is lashon rabim? Kroivim, lashon rabim. Kahashem Elokeinu b'chol kareinu elov. Elov means call out to him is singular. Mi kamcha Yisrael goyechad ba'aretz asher holchu Elokim. And the lashon of what holchu is lashon of what of rabim. It says lifteis loy la'am, to redeem life for himself is lashon yachid. Ad passing in the Nil. Adi kra savav remiv, until thrones were set up. Thrones were set up. The atich yoimim yisiv, and then it says that Hashem, the one who was atich of days, sat. Mashma lashon yachid. Hanach lamali. They want to know why do we need this for? Why do you have to set it up that we have to answer the minim? So it says Gemara Kidder Rabbi Yochanan. Dam Rabbi Yochanan. Eina Kadosh Baruch Hu oised dava. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't do anything. Elam kein nimlach b'pamal yishamayla, unless he discusses with the pamal yishamayla, the upper family. Shenemar b'gzeres irin piskama uvemeiman kedishin she'elta. Okay, hatenach kuli. Okay, that answers everything. But ad dai krasam of Ramin. What about setting up thrones? Ma'ikol neima. How can you explain two thrones? So amaloi. Echad loy ve'echad David. One for him and one for David. The Tanya, echad loy ve'echad David. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Amalei Rabbi Yosi. Akiva, ad masayata oisa shchina chayil. How can you make a Kodesh Baruch Hu chayil saying that a king, a bus of a dam, could sit next to him? Al echad l'din ve'echad l'tzedakah. One throne is for din, one throne is for tzedakah. Kiblu mei or kiblu mei. The Rabbi Akiva accepted or not. So Tashma, the Tanya, echad din ve'echad l'tzedakah. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. So obviously, what he went ahead and accepted it. Amalei Rebbe Loza by Razaya Akiva Malacha Eitzel Agada. What are you doing by Agada? Klach Eitzel Negoyim Aolis. You stick. You're the experts in Lumdis. You're the Litvak. Go ahead. You stick what? You stick what with Oilis. Don't. So what is the purpose of the thrones? The two thrones. Echad lekisei ve'echad l'shrafraf. One is for the throne and one is for a footstool. Kisei liyeshiv alav. This throne to sit on. Shrafraf lahadas raglav. I think we'll stop over here, but I want to bring in a unbelievable medrash from Or Zarua, a medrash from the Or Zarua. That's really quite special. Yeah, sure. Rabbi Kiva said that there's two thrones, one for Hashem and one for David. This is in the beginning of in the Or Zarua, one of the Gedolei Rishonim. He brings this whole story, and this is for a person. I tell you, I knew a person that used to use David as a means of going ahead and explaining his own deficiencies. Because David did this, I could do it also, and it was bothering me very much. I wish I would have known this at the time. Anyone says Yeheshmei Rabba is right. Arina Nami B'Shash Yisrael Nichlas LeBeis Knisiyos about the Midrashiyos V'Oinim Merchash Kodesh Baruch Hu Ema Ashrei Yoav Shemakasan Asa. But unfortunately, is the father whose sons are Makalasim. Tzarech Laimar, Yimlech Hashem la'olam alakayach tzion leDavid aliyah. When you say in Kedusha, Yimlech Hashem la'olam alakayach tzion leDavid aliyah, you have to say with tremendous kavana. Shezeh hashir shemshabeach b'David HaMelech l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is the shir that David HaMelech was mishabeach HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kidam Rabbi Shmuel. Amarti leZangzal Sarapnim. Zangzal is the name of the mount of the Malach. That's the Sarapnim. Hareini kvoide shel David HaMelech. So Rabbi Shmuel went up to the Shemayim. Probably remember they asked whether Saruge Malchus. So Rabbi Shmuel went up to Shemayim to ask what if we should if we have to go ahead and be mechapa for Yosef and the brothers. So maybe this happened at this time. Maybe it happened this time. Amali Yedidi Himtim li Sholashais. Wait 3 hours. At Sheyavay Lakan. He told so the Malach told Rabbi Shmuel wait 3 hours until you'll see David. Fatir Gedulasa. You'll see the greatness of David. But Tafsaseni, just hang it up. But Tafsaseni vashiveni b'chekai. Amali ma'ataraya. What do you see? Amati loy Zayin Barakim. I see 7 Barakim. Barak is lashon of like lightning. Ratzin ke'echad. They're running as one. Amalei kavashay nechad. Close your eyes. Said the Malach Zangzal to Rabbi Shmuel. Close your eyes. Right. Shaloi tira. That you shouldn't see this. But Sazeya halalu sheyatzel l'kras David. And you tremble because now David's coming. Miad rikshu kol ha'efanim v'surafim v'oitzrois barod. All the Ifanim and Srafim, these Malachim that are closest to Hashem, and Oitzos of Barad, literally treasure houses of hail, the Anane Kavoid, and Anane Kavoid, Umazolis, Vikechavim, Umalche Ashares, Veloite Hazvul, Oimrim Lamatzech, Mizmol David. The Shemati Kol Rash Gadol, I heard this tremendous sound, Sheba Migan Eden, V'Amar, Yimlach Hashem La'olam. V'hinei David Ba, for Isi Kol Malchei David Achrav, I saw all the Malachim of Malchus Beis David after him. Galechad Kisrei B'Roishai, each one had the throne of Malchus on his head. The Kisrei Shel David Muvhak, the Kesser of David was shining. Umishuna Mikol Aksar, and was different than all the others. Maybe we saw the Gemara, it had that rod that went through it, that you had the groove in the head. It was different from all the others. The Ziv, the Ziv, the shine of David's crown, went from one end of the world to the other. The Kivin Shalom David lebeis hamedrash hagadol. David enters the big base medrash in Shemayim. Sheberkia huchen la kisei shel eish. It's prepared for David a throne of fire. Shu arba prosais gaiva. It's four process high. Kaflayim archu kaflayim rachbay. The Kivin sheba David v'yeshav le'al kisei shemuchen la keneged oisai kisei shel eish. David then would sit down, connected the kisei ve'esh that was prepared for the Rabbi Shalom. Guys, you hear this? All the Malchei Beis David stand in front of him. The Malchei Beis David in front. Malchei Yisrael from after the Malchus had split on back of David. Miyad Amad v'Amad Shiras Ishbachais. They begin praising. You hear praises that you never heard forever, that you never heard at all. The Malachim Metat, Kvachol Pamali Shalmaila, Vahoyu Oimrim, Kadosh, 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 Hashem Tzavakos, Mleicharetz Kavoidai. The Chaysos Mashpichin and the Chayos HaKodesh, they praise Voimim, Baruch Kavod Hashem, Komo, for Akim Oimrim, Yimlach Hashem La'olam, V'aretz Leimeres, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimlach La'olam Ved, V'chol Malchei Beis David Oimrim, V'hoy Hashem L'melech HaKol Aretz, V'yomahu Yeh Hashem Echad, U'Shemai Echad. You want to know what David's held in esteem, guys? It's his Pelaployim. This medrash is Pelaployim. It's Pelaployim, the greatness of David HaMelech, how unbelievably outstanding he was, and what goes on in Shemayim, things that we can never imagine and think about. But when we saw this Gemara, it brought to mind this Arzarua, the two kisei, the case of Eish, the case of Eish of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and the kisei of David. But David's the king in this world. Hashem, of course, is the king of kings. David's the king in this world. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful medrash. I wish you all a great Shabbos.